to, I guess, another Musy podcast. So today we've got Glory St. Germain. Glory and I have been friends for quite a while now, and we'll get into that. Glory's the CEO of Ultimate Music Theory and the mastermind behind the Music Business Mastery course. So I'll let Glory sort of give herself a little bit of an introduction, but it's great to have you on.
Hey, Sam, it's so great to be here. I just love collaborating with you on projects as we have done through the years. So thanks for having me as a guest.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny that I was just thinking about it. It's almost exactly 2 years ago that we started working together, or that we met. Was it Joanne who made that
Yes,
happen?
yes. So Joanne Barker, who I call her my right arm in the Ultimate Music Theory program. So Joanne was using Musy, and she said, "You got to check this out. This is amazing." And so that's kind of how our journey began. And I went, "I want to meet Sam." And of course, you're incredible. And the platform you've created for music educators and their students is incredible. So I was just more than thrilled to be hanging out with you and seeing what you all got cooking.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, since the first time you looked at the product, I mean, that to me now is like a shell of what it actually is.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool. And on your side, there were many projects that you were working on when we started meeting, but the Music Business Mastery this is your newest brainchild.
Yes, absolutely. So we created Music Business Mastery because teachers are looking for ways to grow their music teaching businesses and what support can they get. And of course, many years ago, it was BC before computers, for those of you that were alive in that era. And there was just nothing. We were lonely music teachers just sitting in our studio, just like hoping that we'd meet a friend who could understand what we were going through. And I think now more than ever, just as you and I have connected, never met in person, but I'm sure we will one day, that we now have music educators from around the world that are joining us on Music Business Mastery. And, teaching is teaching. It doesn't matter if you're living in Zimbabwe or Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, wherever our Ultimate Music Theory teachers are. We all come together at Music Business Mastery. So make sure you get registered because it's a 3-day live event. You don't want to miss it.
Awesome. Yeah, and this is technically, not the first time you've done this. These are sort of a repeating course, so to speak, like this, the live portion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we run our trainings quite often because sometimes you maybe have missed it or you didn't have time. And so we want to make sure to have that opportunity. And what I really love about Music Business Mastery Live is that we are actually connecting with teachers in real time. This is not just about me giving you a bunch of information. It is an experiential 3-day live event, which means we do hot seat coaching. You get to ask questions and you really need to attend live.
Mhm.
It's just the same as when you're teaching your students. You want them to be there live. You can send them a recording, but it's not the same as just showing up. And it's also something where you're going to take an action step every day as you work through this 3-day live event with me. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So I guess the one thing I actually don't think I know is, how did you get into music and everything in the first place? It was funny. I was thinking about this earlier. Like, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
I know all the work you do, but I don't think I actually know the origin story. Is that,
Well, the origin story, I have to go way back. And I guess I started teaching at the age of 6. I
Okay.
would line up my dolls, and I had floppy rag dolls that could care less about learning about time signature. And then I would have my, baby dolls that were all dressed up in their pretty dresses that would kind of roll their eyes whenever I would talk about, major and minor key signatures. And then I would have my Barbie dolls that were totally not interested and wouldn't even tap their high heels in time to the music as I was teaching them. And because I've always been teaching, at the age of 16, I started teaching real live dolls. And I realized that, just like my baby dolls, the students weren't interested.
Mm.
And I realized that there was a disconnect. There was a problem. And I realized that in order for me to have more impact as a teacher, I need to elevate my skill set and learn about how I could communicate with students on a deeper level. And that's when I really got back into my own professional development. And it's why I created these opportunities for teachers, because if you started teaching at the age of 16, as I did, then you probably didn't have a role model or a whole lot of, materials that you could draw from. You just kind of made it up as you went along. So it's never too late to dive in and learn some new skill sets.
Absolutely. That's the one thing I think, and exactly why we're all here now is that we're at Musi huge proponents of the education after education. Is
Yes.
that, I have what's supposed to be the best music degree in the world, like the, banner. Oh, great. In reality, what I learned in practical sense was everything the day I graduated. From
Yeah.
the day I graduated forward was when I actually learned how to do anything that I'm actually doing today. And
Yeah.
it's through things like what you're offering. It's courses, it's training sessions, it's meeting other teachers, it's working directly with the community. It's that kind of it's really the community building side of it, I think, that has sort of elevated. And in the last couple of years, there's been a, sort of a maximized sort of push to get this kind of thing, more and more common. And I mean, you've been at the forefront of this for a while now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, pretty awesome. And, congratulations on doing that. And, what do you think, just as you've seen the landscape shift, this
Yeah.
is different from what the ultimate music theory stuff is what people know you for, right? It's
Yes.
music theory, music theory, music theory. Music business mastery isn't so much just music theory, right?
Right.
This is
Yeah,
business.
and what I saw, and you're so right, Sam, because when I started, just realizing that my students weren't learning very effectively,
Mm,
I then realized that if I couldn't find materials that worked for me, then I needed to create materials that would work for them. So I
right.
created the Ultimate Music Theory Workbook program. And as I was traveling around the globe and presenting workshops on music theory education, I realized that there really was a hole for music teachers, as you said, that
Mm,
were like, I teach music theory, but I really don't know the how to teach music theory. And then we created the Ultimate Music Theory certification course. And what's really transpired in the last 2 years is that teachers are looking for ways to teach online more effectively and to have the resources to do it and do it in a fun and engaging way. And one of the things that I do cover in the Music Business Mastery is how do we impact our students? How do we get them excited to come to class?
right.
And there's a lot of hybrid teaching. As a matter of fact, one of our Ultimate Music Theory teachers who uses the Musi platform and Della, and she's sent me pictures where she's got one student in class, but the rest of them are all online. But she can implement and teach music theory and get them excited. She obviously uses the Musi platform. So, excuse me, I think there's a lot of ways. And one of the things I'll be covering in Music Business Mastery is mindset.
Mm,
And although that might sound simple, mindset is really important for discovering how can we have a shift. If you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. I'm sure you've heard that before, right? So mindset is really preparing yourself for how can I make the mindset shift to understand that come with an empty cup. I am always a student, as you are. We learn together. I often call Sam up and say, I need some help in this department. He's like, yeah, well, you can press this button and this button. So I think we're really here to help students and teachers understand what activities you can prepare. And I guess the key takeaway is what is repeatable
mm,
and what is going to save me time. Because if we just keep doing new all the time,
right.
it's exhausting. So we want to have all of those, um, sort of mechanisms that we use. We want to create structure and then make it repeatable.
Absolutely. It's a really interesting way of thinking about that, because that's sort of what I was sort of alluding at is the mindset of everybody has changed over the last couple of years to I'm just here in my cave doing my thing, and I will, and I was guilty of it, of just trying a million different things over and over, like different, literally different every single time, being
Yeah.
like, okay, with this kid I'll explain it like this, and then with this person I'll do this, and then you realize you're like, I guess you're sort of experimenting, sort of see what
Yes.
but if you keep experimenting and you never bring together like what you did, if you never bring it together, then you're
Right.
never, you're it's a little chaotic.
Yeah.
Where what you've already got is the packaged bundle of all of the things that that you need to teach to your students,
Mhm.
that you need to pass along this information. And theory is a good example of something that every teacher
Mhm.
understands it, every teacher knows it,
Yep.
but probably doesn't know how to teach it. And
Yeah.
it's also like as a guitar player, I play the guitar, I teach the guitar, and then when it comes to the theory side of stuff, I feel like I'm like, okay, now put down your guitar, grab your pens and pencils, and I have to like switch mindsets to get it
Yeah.
to work. And if I don't have something structured that I can rely on, then you can imagine why you'd end up just going down the rabbit hole over and over again.
Yeah, 100%, Sam. And I think too that once you learn the system also of engaging students in visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning, they actually learn faster.
Right.
And so I think it's really key to recognize what is their learning style. And it's something that we teach inside our program is not only to identify your own learning style, but identify the learning style of your students so that you can serve them at a higher level and also prepare your materials and understand, even though you might be presenting the same book when you're teaching music theory, but understanding how to teach it
Yeah,
so that this student will excel just as quickly as this student and still
absolutely.
make it engaging for both of them.
And you specialize in groups. So that's,
Yes,
something quite different too.
right. So I'll share a little sad personal story with you, Sam. It's story time with Miss Glory. I call it my broke story.
Right? The good
So
old
yes,
been there.
yeah, I think we've all been there at some point in our lives. Well, it was many, many, many years ago. My husband is a professional entertainer and he does big shows, performing 20,000 screaming fans in the audience. And what happened was, so he's booked and he's the breadwinner in the family, and I'm teaching music. And so he got ill and he landed up in the hospital.
Mm.
And all of the income from his shows went to zero.
Yeah.
So it was a very scary time for me. I had two young children at home that needed my attention. I was teaching as much as I could. I was exhausted. And now I was responsible for bills, credit cards that were maxed out, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So after I sat here and cried and had my little pity party, I thought, what can I do? And Sam, that's when I had the aha moment. And I thought, okay, what if I teach music theory to my students in a group? What if I charge a little bit less and then I could make more money per hour and build a community
Mhm.
and still have time for my family? What happened was it saved me 7 hours a week and my income increased 5 times.
Yeah.
So instead of making $50 an hour, I was
Mm.
making $270 per hour, which is actually more than 5 times.
Right.
I not only paid off my credit cards and got out of debt, but I grew a 6-figure business teaching music.
Yep.
And that's before I did anything else with my business. So I realized that if I can do it, so can you. And that's when I created the program so I can help you learn how to do this. So you don't have to figure it all out and take 10 years to do it, because that's what it took me to figure it out. But now I realize that profitability is there. And so many of our ultimate music theory teachers that come into the program have increased their business by 30, 40, 50, 60%, just like that,
Yeah.
just by making the mindset shift to say, wait a minute, I still want to teach private with my some of my students. I may want to put some of them into group practical lessons, whether you're teaching piano or
Sure.
guitar. It's more fun. And I definitely want to put my students into group theory club classes, because not only is it profitable, but you're building community. And you
Yeah.
can be teaching students from around the world. I taught for many, many years students that were band students,
Mhm.
students from other teachers that maybe didn't feel qualified or didn't have time to teach theory, voice students,
Yep.
all they weren't taking piano lessons from me.
Right.
They just came for theory club class. And not only did they love it, but they stayed together for years. So you are building your business as you're bringing new students in at the beginner level. They just stayed with me all the way through the years, going through basic, intermediate, advanced. And yeah, it was a win-win for all of us.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's exactly the kind of thing that it's I think now it's exactly people like you, why showcasing this is what needs to happen more often. Is I meet people all the time who assume a music teacher is someone who's just making pennies. And
Yeah.
to be fair, sometimes that's the case. But I also know quite a few music teachers who are not making pennies, they are
Yeah,
seriously living a good life, and it's because of clever business. It's not that they're killing themselves with 150-hour work weeks.
exactly.
It's group classing. My anecdote story on the music side of that is we had a teacher in England who used to drive to every single lesson. And then when pandemic hit, they switched to music, and now they're still on here teaching group classes only
Yeah,
online. Instead of 6 days a week, they work 3 days a week. They make twice as much money. They work half as much. It's like those are the kinds of things where it's like it's not like a fantasy dream for the most clever and the best. It's pretty straightforward
yeah,
for everybody. Like this isn't
yeah,
something that has a limit either. There's
right.
I mean, there's about 100,000, maybe 200,000 music teachers in North America. There's 64 million music students.
Yeah,
So don't even for a second try to say that you can't find some people to teach, you
exactly.
know?
Yeah.
So there's more than enough for every single one of us to have
Mhm.
groups on groups on groups. So, you know,
100%.
I think it's just that, like you said, it's the mindset and the mentality that you've got to shift and think, you know what,
Yep.
I don't just want to teach a couple one-on-ones in my basement.
Right.
I want to grow a business where I don't have to do that, where I can when I want to, as much as I want to. But when I hit that limit of I don't want to do that, I don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's the place you really want to find yourself.
100%. And I think one of the reasons we created the Music Business Mastery live event was because once we have established all of these tools and techniques and strategies and systems to help teachers scale their business quickly,
Mhm.
I am more than happy to give you this information for free
Yeah.
because I know what it feels like to not have anyone to turn to.
Right.
And through my years as a professional, author and TEDx speaker and event planner and summit, and of course, we're going to talk about you as well as an international best-selling author. But through all of those, I have always worked with a coach.
Yeah.
To this day, at this moment in time, I have 5 coaches that I work with in all different aspects of my business.
Mhm.
And it's important to have a coach. It's important to accept this gift. Sometimes they go, "No, I got this. I can do it. I'm okay." And I'm like, "Really? Are you okay?" Because I see that you're wanting more for yourself. You deserve to live your dream lifestyle.
Yeah.
Why not? I've taken family trips. I've done lots of things in my life, traveled, and it's exciting for me. I love working. I'm passionate about what I do and running my business, but you need to take those steps, be open to learning, come with your growth mindset and say, "Listen, I am ready. I want to learn these. I want to live my best life." And you only get one, so you
Yeah.
may as well have fun.
Absolutely. I know. I think you couldn't be more right. There's a piano teacher that is using Newsy right now who has I probably told this story like 15 times now. But it just blew my mind when I actually saw it. So they popped up on the screen for a demo, and they're just typical setting, just normal backdrop. And they were talking, and I was like, "So where are you from?" And they're like, "Well, it's complicated." And I was like, "Okay." And basically, they live in an RV. They have
Yep.
replaced the kitchen table with a grand piano, a full grand piano in an RV. And she drives around the country and just stops off wherever they want to and teaches on the road from a grand piano. It was like, this is the coolest person I've ever met. I
Yeah.
was like that's my dream. I was like, imagine hauling that grand piano behind you into the back of the RV and then
Yeah.
just off to the great, national parks of the world. And
Yeah.
I got to teach a couple lessons. I'll be there in a few minutes.
Mhm.
It's but that freedom to live the life the
Yeah.
way you want to live it. And we tell people, all the time, with online or just hybrid groups, maximizing your business so that you're not, because it's a fundamental problem with the service industry, which is what we are, is
Yes.
that we are the amount of hours in a day. So like we can only make as much money as the time we have to make the money.
Yeah.
But if you're really clever about it, you can start doing things that's the passive income almost, or the
Yep.
maximizing your income, $50 to $270. You're going from already a pretty good salary to like literally CEO level salary. Like,
Exactly.
and you don't need to worry about managing a Fortune 500 company as well. You just
It's
get the
true.
keys of your small business, but running it the way you want to run it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
100%. I like the RV story. Kind of makes
It's like when I saw it, I was blown away. I was like, I'm still working on how they got it in there. That's the
Yeah.
I'm like, do you cut the wall out? Like, how do you do that?
And it's so much fun. And I think too, right now I'm here in my home. Next month I'm traveling to Las Vegas because our daughter lives in Las Vegas. So I'll be hanging out with her for a while. So when you see me doing my Facebook lives, I'll be in Las Vegas. And the great thing about running a business and having that opportunity to work at an international level with students from around the world, and my clients, of course, are teachers,
Right.
is that you can do it from anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think one of the key things, and you talked about generating, increasing your income, but I'm going to give you a little business tip here. Not you personally, but I'm just speaking generally, is that
I'll take it.
it doesn't matter if you're making $1 million or if you're a 7-figure business or if you're a 6-figure business. What matters is, are you profitable? Because we've all known 7-figure businesses that have gone under. Oh yeah, did you hear they closed? Why is that? Because they didn't have good management skills.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I cover inside our programs is, how do you have profit first? How do you run a business? And so often when, teachers might say, oh, I don't want to use, that form of collecting money because they take a big chunk. And I say, well, that is called business fees, right? I spend thousands of dollars on my professional development. Why? Because if I don't learn and grow, my business can't grow. And if you're a teacher who wants to elevate the skill set of your students, then you need to elevate, because as we all know, you can only be as high as your leader.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you want to grow your business, you have to go and find your next level coach or go into a program so that you can grow. And when I think about the journey that I've been on and how to really grow an expert business, you need to be passionate about what you do and have those systems in place, because you can live your dream lifestyle and you can be profitable as long as you have the tools and are willing to learn the lessons to help you get there. So I hope you sign up for Music Business Mastery, because I can't wait to share all of these things with you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is one of those, one interesting point I think is worth making is, there in the last 2 years, from my point of view, there have been a lot of people entering the market of, for lack of a better word, gurus of like, oh, we can make you. If I see another how to make 6 figures by next week ad,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go crazy. Or how to get 20 students every week for the rest of your life. Like, these are the kind of, there's snake oil salesmen, and then there's legitimate business growth and development. And this is true in every industry. This is, but I think we've seen a little bit of an influx in the last 2 years, specifically in this market.
Yes.
Just, pandemic and all the changes and everything. And I think the thing is that, and I get emails every day from people asking to be on here, to talk to people, to, to make these connections. And the reason that we don't promote every single person that we talk to is, and the reason we do work with people like you, is that it's quite a few factors, but you have the longevity and sort of the acumen and the credits to prove you can do what you're saying you're doing. We've worked together for a long time. We've grown together through, the last couple of years. And I just think it's sort of, this is more of a message out to the audience of, when you're looking at these kinds of courses and you're looking at business development, you're looking at growth, be careful too, because there's a lot of stuff out there that is just looking for your cash. And they're just going to give you a PDF with the most common sense stuff you've ever seen in your life. And they're going to make it look pretty, maybe. Sometimes not even. And, and then they're going to get you on their coaching call, and they're going to, drill you with questions and basically call you an idiot for an hour. And then, and have no real suggestions, or really, really unrealistic suggestions of what you're going to do next, or you're going to be spending a fortune of unforeseen expenses that you had never known about. And I just want to sort of bring that up because we do see, this is growing in a not a problematic rate, but we keep
Yeah.
an eye on it. And I think what we're trying to do at Musi, what you're trying to do, the whole, I think there's a big sect of the music community right now that is working really hard to
Yeah.
fight against that and supply quality content and education and resources. And I mean, you've literally got a list of TEDx, speaking event, like your resume is many pages long of impressive things. So I think just having said that is that what you're doing is something that we do, stand behind and support. Like one thing I want to sort of get around to is the depth in which you go in the music business mastery stuff. Is sort of a level that I haven't seen yet from a lot of these other places. And that's, I think, also how you know that there's something real behind it. Like if they're just telling you how to market your business and there's just a couple tips on how to get more Facebook leads,
Yeah.
sure. But if it's actual how to run your business, how to change the fundamentals of the day-to-day, I think that is a big difference. And when people are looking at these courses, it's hard to spot it on the surface between what's what. People are good at imagery and marketing, so it can be really difficult to see what's legitimate.
Yeah.
But I just sort of want to say, like, I can absolutely vouch for everything you do, and that it's nice to have people like you in this community where I can be like, no, go to Glory, like, or like go to Jamie or go to
Yeah.
Eric or go to Nate, or like there's the people that we can say like, yes, these
Yeah.
people know what they're talking about. Like this is legitimate information that will actually help your business grow. So I guess really just a thank you for being
Well,
here.
I so appreciate your words, Sam, and they resonate with me so well because because I've seen all of those things as well. And what I can share with you is that I've lived it. Everything that I teach, and I teach with an open heart and give freely, because so many times when we do struggle and we don't know where to go, and there's a big difference between just marketing and getting students
Right.
and then knowing what to do with them and how to be an
Yeah.
effective
Right.
educator. And when I created this program, which I will be introducing at Music Business Mastery Live and giving you some great takeaways that you can take away this 3-day live event and you can put actionable items into place right now.
Yeah.
And that's why it's an experiential event, because we're going to go through this. On day 1, you're going to have homework. On day 2, you're going to have homework.
Yeah.
So we want to do this with you because I love helping teachers succeed. We have our UMTC, Ultimate Music Theory Certified Teachers and Elite Educator program from around the world. And when I see their success, that just makes me happy. And I think I have just one more thing that I wanted to share, and that is what I think is really important, is that when you are working with a coach, number one, for myself, and I had mentioned I have 5 coaches in my business, and I've worked with some that I worked with for a minute. And then just what you said, Sam, it was a big talk, but there wasn't anything tangible that I could do
Right.
or use. And then I've worked with other coaches who have helped me learn the skill set that I needed to take my business to the next level. And, I always say dream big, but it's more than just dreaming big. There is a step and a process. So I'll give you an example. So when I decided in my mind that I wanted to do a TED Talk, it was a dream of mine for a long time. And I wrote it on the vision board. And so the first step that I did was I actually went online and I just bought the red TEDx rug. I didn't have a TED Talk. I didn't know anything. I just bought a rug. So I bought the rug, but it was symbolic for me because it meant, and I stood on it in the middle and I thought, what would it feel like? Right? What would I say? What do I want to share? And then my next step was that I bought a book, right? How to do a TED Talk. And I read the book and I thought, okay, well, this is cool. This is great. But it wasn't enough for me. And then I found a coach, and I actually found 2 coaches, and I worked with both of them in different ways about how to, write your story and how to present. And then the next level was when I felt confident, then it was time to take the next step, which is actually go and present to TEDx, to see if I would be accepted. And not only was I accepted once, but I actually landed up doing one last year and one this year. And I will do another one next year. So when you set your goal and you have those actionable steps, so what does it take? So for me to say, hey, you should teach group theory classes. And you might say, yeah, that's awesome. But what do you need to do that? Well, first you need to know how. You need to have lesson plans.
Mhm.
You need to know what levels and what ages to put together. You
Yeah.
need to know how to identify their learning styles, marketing materials. Then comes this whole package. So by taking the first step, which is just getting registered for Music Business Mastery, that's kind of like buying your TED rug. It's just the first step. And then you get to step into the program and you go, oh, okay, this is going to be fun. So that's my little TED story.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, that is the literal definition of manifesting your dream.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And that's the thing is like there's that story. I don't know if it's true or not. The guy that put the multi-million-dollar mansion on his board of things, and then one day he was kicking it around his multi-million-dollar mansion, and someone said to him, like, I actually think you've bought the picture that you cut out. And it turned out he had cut a random mansion out of a magazine and ended up inevitably buying that exact mansion, but not on purpose. And it just happened. And, I think that that's the kind of thing, like it's the actionable that matters, right? Like it's the back to the software. We do this all day is the idea, or is it the CEO or the developer who's the one that matters? I'll tell you, it's the developer, because I don't care how many good ideas you have. If you can't act on your cool idea, then there's nothing. You don't have anything. So it's at the end of the day, it's the action that is always what matters. And I like what you're saying is sometimes as simple as just literally click in, and when you check, there'll be a link below this thing. Click that, sign up. Like that's literally, you don't have to do anything. It's free. No one's asking you to pay anything. It's just a free informational session. It's one of those, like, you can't lose. And like we already talked about, it's this valuable information. It's going to benefit you and your business. But at the end of the day, it's also just curiosity. Like if you're, the way I think of it is, if you're a teacher, you're just an endless student, really. That's why you became a teacher, right? Because you are addicted to the process of learning and teaching, which teaching is just learning. So, I feel like you can't not just want to sign up and at least check it out. It's one of the, and it's, like you said, actionable live things that you can work on are the only way you're going to push things forward. I could tell you, I had the idea for Musi. It was a cool idea, but until code starts getting written, and there is nothing but an idea. And I think it's so important that people just kind of take that. Mine is, I have 13 months left, exactly 13 months and 3 days to get on Forbes 30 under 30. That's been my pipe dream for a long time. I don't know why. I think I saw the magazine on a stand in Barnes and Noble when I was like 10, and it was just one of those where I was like, I want to be that guy. And then it's funny because now there's, still a long shot, but there's potential to that dream where if I just make a couple more correct moves and things go my way, it could actually happen. And it's one of those where, like, it sounds kind of crazy to think it, but it's one of those, like, I'm just thinking, like, I literally have 13 months left, but it's not
happening.
It's not unrealistic. Like, it doesn't sit in my brain anymore as like oh, that would be so a wonder, how cool of a fantasy. Now it sits in my brain as more of a, I wonder who I need to call. Like, I wonder, like, where do I, what do I do first? I go to Forbes.com and I look at this year's list, and then I go look at the contact and I see how you get submitted. And it turns out someone has to submit you. Okay. So you find out, how are you going to get, so you've got to make those steps. And as soon as you put that into motion, it becomes a real possibility. Before you take that step, it is just a dream. And it will always be a dream until you make, and my mom always says, do something and something will happen. It doesn't have to be specific.
That is such good. My brain is just exploding with ideas, Sam, because just your story just resonates so much, I think, with all of us, that To say that you want something and then to not take a step towards it is a waste,
Yeah.
a complete waste. And the other thing that I have found to be true is that when you say it out loud,
Yeah.
it becomes more real. When you write it down, it becomes more real. I have a giant whiteboard in my office downstairs, and on there I wrote, TEDx. I wrote, 1.5 million. I wrote, 50 plus. Like every one of my goals is written on that board, and I look at it and I say, what action step did you take today to
Yeah.
put you closer to your goal? And if I think about it and I meet with my team, and when I even look back, and even a couple of years ago, Sam, when you and I first connected, since then my team has grown because I've manifested. Oh, I need an executive assistant. And this year I hired an executive assistant. I need another assistant. And now Jessica's on board. So our team is growing. But the big thing is you need an accountability partner.
Mm.
So when you talk about you have this vision and you say, but I need someone to do code.
Yeah.
Well, then it might even be just one person, but you start with that one person and now they're accountable and you can talk about it. Even when you think about, I want to take guitar lessons.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my dream. Well, maybe you should buy a guitar and maybe you should find a teacher, right? So if you're not going to do that, it's never going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited to see you on the cover of the magazine. I will manifest that with you. And I want to be invited to your party because I'm part of the process here.
It's going to be a rager. No,
Yeah.
but I really do think that's how I just want to see. I actually remember, this is funny. I remember vividly getting in an argument with my parents and it was family friends. We were in England and they had just all watched The Secret. And
Oh, yes.
I'm still, with any of those things, I'm still the one skeptic in the room, be like, well, it's more about opportunity and circumstance. But there's a fundamental point that I think is very, very easily overlooked. And it's the before you do and before you act and everything, you do have to have the dream and tell yourself you can. That I think is actually maybe the most important piece, because because what happens more often than not is you have the dream and then the very next thought is, I can't do that. And then it will forever be the dream. And you will literally never in your life see or manifest any of those dreams. And you'll always wonder how everybody else has figured out how to do it. And it's really just because when they were probably told blindly by their parents to just, you're the greatest, go do it. You're the greatest, go do it. And honestly, as dangerous as that can be, I think it's the best thing you can give to someone is the idea of you literally, like that's my dad. His personality is you can literally do anything as long as you are willing to do the thing. Like it's, if you want to be the best at something, you have to practice. It is as unfortunately as true as it is, you do have to put in the effort if you want to be the best at what you're doing. But I think it's also really important that people sort of understand when you're going like this business development, business growth, or you're taking guitar lessons for the first time, or it's you're becoming the student again. Like as a business owner, you're going back to square one and you have to sort of accept that you probably don't just accept you don't know anything. Like you said, go in with the glass open and just be willing to absorb. Because, as a kid, I was definitely the one who was always arguing against every single thing that was, someone would be like, well, what about, nope, 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 nope. And then when you start stepping back and actually thinking about it, you're like, okay, well, first of all, I've got to be able to think of a cool idea. Everyone can do that. Literally everybody can do that. I then have to be able to tell myself that I can act on that idea. Most people don't do that, which is where it breaks down. But then you have to actually act on the idea. And it's like you said, it's as simple sometimes as just clicking the link on here to sign up for something, or it says, or not, or actually following through with the plans to do it. I think that's the next thing is like,
I have a little. Sorry to interrupt you there. You and I just think so much alike. And when you talk about these steps, and this is so important for the teachers that are listening or watching, that when you set your dream goal, which we all have, And then you have to take one step. And I believe that when you take that first step, the universe takes a huge step towards you. And then you take another step,
Mhm.
and then you will be presented with another opportunity. And I want to share another glory story with you. So I don't know, some of you might be listening and not watching. So I'll try to be descriptive in case you're not watching. When several years ago, well, I guess it was just maybe a year ago, I wanted to really help music educators understand how successful people achieve what they do.
Mm.
And most of that is because we learn about their stories. What is their pain point? How did they suffer? How did I grow a business? I was just a piano teacher starting at the age of 16. How did I grow a global company? How could that happen? What's my story? Each one of my successes came with pain
Yeah.
that sometimes we hit rock bottom. So there's towards goal setters and there's away from goal setters.
Hmm.
And when I was working on my music degree and I got my music diploma, I basically got through it by eating donuts and junk food, and I became obese and I was over 200 pounds. And I knew that something had to change because I was in pain, even walking down the hallway to my bedroom at the end of a teaching day. And because of that, I decided I would work with a trainer and that I would run a marathon. This was like the big, crazy dream. But it was a dream that I was as an away from goal setter. I didn't want to be in pain. I didn't want to be fat. I didn't want this. I didn't want that. And so I gently started working towards that goal and getting a trainer. And the closer that I got and the more weight that I lost and the healthier that I became, I shifted from an away from goal setter of all this negativity to a towards goal setter. I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to wear the medal, which I do have, by the way, in my jewelry box of 26.2 miles. So I achieved that goal. And so when we think about that, I'm going to share the power of why.
Mm.
Now, the Power of Why Musicians is an anthology series. And I'm so thrilled because Sam is also in the book, The Power of Why. 23 musicians crafted a course.
Chapter
But
30.
what I want to share with you is on the back cover, here's how it all started. For those of you that you can go to palmusicians.com and you can read about the power of why and who's in the book and all the rest of that stuff, and you'll see Sam's story. So if you can see the screen on the back of the book, you'll see that there are 5 covers, right? The power of why, there's 21, 23, 25, 27, and 29. This cover was printed and created and designed before I had a single page in the book.
Mm.
And I had this book cover on the wall. And it was just the same as Sam is going to be 30 under 30. He's going to be on the cover. I had the book cover because I had a vision that I was going to be an international best-selling author 5 times in this series. And by taking that one step, I reached out to Sam. And I remember saying, Sam, you created this an amazing program. Would you be a contributing author? And he said, well, yeah, send me the details. I'll think about it. So share a little bit about the inside secret, Sam.
Yeah.
Secret Sam.
Yeah. I mean, so this is really one of those cool things is, because I'm a terrible writer. So
You're not a terrible writer. You're
I
a
had a
great
lot of
writer.
help make this legible. So I am naturally
You
not
are
quite
on page 62 in your hymnals.
page 62. I think it's chapter 13. But this was a really interesting process to go through, because the question of why do you do something, I
Yeah.
get asked this quite a lot, and I don't know if I have a single answer. And this probably sums it up the best, because this is where we
Yeah.
sat down and really thought about it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, well, and that's what I mean. Like, it was a weird process to do, because the why of something is very complicated.
Yeah.
It's usually done not just as simple because I want to, or because I did it. It is a story of,
Yeah.
I grew up here, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and that's just how I am here today. Like, if the life I had drawn was the life that I had planned on, I'd be on a stage right now in like Germany, playing at Wacken or something. Like, that was the plan. And it's funny because when I get asked why, sometimes I feel like I don't have a good enough answer. Like
Mhm.
sometimes the answer is like because it just is what it is. And it's so interesting going through that process of sucking out what the becauses really are
Yeah.
and the details of how you like. For me personally, it became very clear, and I already knew this, but it became very apparent that my upbringing was 100% directly related to how I am, who I am. And it's very obvious. I still work with my dad.
Yeah.
So, there's not many people who almost 30 will happily go into business with their family,
Yep.
but I think that says a lot is that
Yeah.
like that I am willing, like that we had that family connection, that is a
Yeah.
big part of the why. And then the mentors, I talked about that a little bit in there, but this is something I've started noticing more as I get a little bit older is it's the people that I've met through the journey that are, and I can pick out people in certain phases of my life
Yeah.
who had like early on my guitar teachers, it was guitar teachers who were the people that had like that most influential impact on getting me to the next place. And then it was school teacher. And for me, it's almost always been an educator of some kind.
Mhm.
Other kids, it's their sports coach. And that's
Yeah.
why they gravitate that way. For me, it was my guitar teacher, my history teacher. Then when I went to college, there was like specific professors that while I was there had huge impact. And then coming out of college, meeting people like you and Eric and like Nate and Jamie and Heidi. And like there's a huge community of
Yeah.
people that like now I'm learning from all of you guys. And these are now my mentors. And it's a really interesting, like it's really interesting because it's like I said, it's kind of hard to say why you do things sometimes. But
Sometimes.
sometimes I have to just be glad that it is what it is, and not have to actually come up with an answer and just be like, I don't know, but I'm cool with it.
It's okay. I can tell you this. When I think, and that's why I really wanted to dig deep, because when you do have your dream, you have your vision, and you're really clear about what that looks like,
Hmm,
in order to achieve that, if you dig deep enough and discover your why, that's when it comes into fruition.
yeah,
Because for myself, as I always wanted to make more money. Who doesn't? But it wasn't until I really discovered why I wanted to make more money, because I like to give back to the community. We support, we have a number of charities that Ultimate Music Theory as a company donates to every month.
right,
Why? Because I wanted to help my brother. Why did we create Music Business Mastery? Because I want to help teachers.
yeah,
I love helping teachers, as do you, because I know, Sam, you do a lot of research and saying, hey, what do you guys need? We're going to be doing a couple of changes here. So I think our why really is a powerful driving force. Why did I want to run a marathon? My why changed. My goal
yeah,
didn't. My
right,
goal was the same, but my why, I didn't want to be this and I didn't want to be that, changed to I want to do this and I want to do that. So the goal doesn't have to change, but your why might change on your pathway. And that becomes like a train that's going down the track. You know
yeah,
what I mean? There's just no stopping you. And as I was working with you on doing the Power of Why books, we were on a mission to say we're taking this to international best-selling book #1. There was no doubt in my mind.
right,
And I think the why became because I want to help people.
yeah,
And I think music teachers, that's why you're doing what you're doing. It's not about making $50 an hour. It's because we love what we do.
yeah,
However, we also have the why of when we make more money, not if, but when we make more money. For myself, my brother is unable to work. So I can support him in
yeah,
things that he needs in his life. So the why then becomes more generous because we
right,
can help other people. And just like you, Sam, we have a family business too. My daughter Sherry, who I said I'm going to go visit in Las Vegas, is a music producer there, and my son is actually the VP of my company. So we love working together too. It's a lot of fun when you can have a family business.
absolutely. And I think that's a really interesting way of framing it because I guess what I was thinking is what you're just saying is my thought is that when my goal or my why changes, I guess for me, I think the why never changed, but the goals changed. And that's what made it strange. In my because
Yes.
kid, I always wanted to be the guitar player who's famous and had the like rock star.
Yeah.
But then honestly, I grew up. Like it was a little bit of like and as I was saying, all my mentors in my life have been teachers. So
Yes.
without me really realizing it, it was inevitable that I was going to become a teacher of some kind. It
Mhm.
was I'm sure other people in my life could have been like, "Yeah, we knew." Or
Yeah.
but like I was probably the last one to get clued into that that part of my own life. And so I think that's where like and then you have to, if someone asks why, you're like, "Well, I didn't go into it with a grand like I didn't intend to be like, oh, I wanted to be a teacher my whole life, and this,
Yeah.
but I actually did want to be a teacher my whole life because if anyone who knows me knows that I think education is the single most important thing in the world, and
Yeah.
that if you can have any impact on increasing the quality of education, you will
Mhm.
do the one thing that all humans want to do, which is just leave the world better than you showed up. And
Yep.
so that to me is a very simple, straight path. And then the why becomes so clear. And that's what we fleshed out in the book is that there's a why is to help people. And yeah, it's the altruistic, oh, you feel good about yourself, but there's something else there. Like there's something internal that's just like, I can't help it. Like I've actually been I'm a terrible businessman in the sense that like money is the last thing that motivates me. But
Mhm.
from what you said, having enough money to be able to do the things I actually want to do is so crucial. So
Yeah.
that, I'm definitely want my business to grow and become hugely successful. But the last thing I'm thinking about at the end of every day is what were the profit margins?
Yeah.
Of course, at the end of the day, I do in fact think about what are the profit margins. That's the last thing I think about, but I do think about it. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
it's still there on the priority list, and it
Yeah.
has to be like you said. It's got to be up, otherwise you don't have anything. And
Yep.
those are the kinds of things, though, that like you're saying, my mental scope day to day is not how can I make more money today. It's what can we do today that will help people? What can
Yep.
impact? Like when you said when we're building new products for our or new features for Musi, what I want is now pretty irrelevant. Like I've got everything I want. I already did that. That's what Musi is right now. It's everything I wanted. And for the last year and a half, it's been everything everybody else wants and what everyone else needs. And
Right.
that is so much more fun. Is
Yes.
talking to teachers and finding out what the problems are. Because teachers will be doing methods that I don't implement myself anymore or haven't done yet, or
Yeah.
just, and so I'm like, okay, well, explain this methodology to me. How does this work? Why do you do it this way? Okay,
Mhm.
what kind of technology could be implemented to make that possible or easier? And like that day to day, like strategy puzzle solving, that's
Yeah.
what keeps me running through the rain. But then, of course, like you're saying, you have to be business minded enough that
Mhm.
you grow something on the side or grow something that can supply that lifestyle, because otherwise no matter how much I want to help people, if I have to go and work at a software company as a salesman, I don't help people anymore. Like I now
Right.
just do that because I wasn't able to make the business something
Yeah.
that could sustain so I could do what I really wanted to do. So sort of bringing it full circle is like, if you want to do what you truly want to do, you have to think of it, you have to tell yourself you can do it, and then you have to act on it.
Yeah.
Then you have to stick with it and
Yeah.
keep growing. Is the thing is once you get the ball rolling,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you did. You got the ball rolling. You now have to
Mhm.
guide the ball down the hill to the goal. And
Yes.
most people don't realize that hill is about 50 years long. Um, so they seem to
And
think,
it is 10,000 hours. It
yeah,
it truly is. And you know what you just said, Sam, about serving educators. I've built the company, and now I'm there too. Teachers are saying, "Oh, we'd love to have more games." Joanne Barker is our games designer, so she takes care of that. And oh, we'd love to have more details on how to prepare students for exams. And Sheila McKibben-Uren, who is our examiner, does that. And we'd love to have some images that we could use in our Facebook marketing, and Jessica creates that. Or we'd love this, and then Leanna will say, oh, I can help you do that. So when you come to that place where that I've done what I set out to do, and now it's evolving even more because my clients, my community has asked me for it.
Yeah.
So as a music teacher, your students, which is actually how I landed up starting to teach music theory, was because
Right.
my students were asking me for it
Sure.
and I didn't know anything. And so I had to go learn about music theory, and then landed up, of course, writing 50 plus books. But at the time, when you think about it, your teacher, listen to what your students are looking for rather than just feeding them what you think they should have. Listen to what kind of music they want to learn so that you can be open. You might even learn something new. I think it is now a time in this digital world where we have to be open,
Yeah.
open to listening to. We learn more by listening than we do by talking.
Mhm.
And even in this conversation that you and I are having about music business mastery, you're giving me ideas. You may not know it, but I'm like, well, I missed 30 under 30, but maybe right? There's other goals. I remember when I was first wanting to, I'm a big Tony Robbins fan.
Mhm.
And I remember when I was doing my vision board, and Tony Robbins had someone beside him on, on the microphone, like being
Mhm.
interviewed. And I remember cutting out a picture of myself, and then I glue it on the magazine beside Tony Robbins, thinking,
Yep.
that's me. He's going to be talking to me on the big screen. So it's always kind of been in the back of my head. And it was like many years ago. And last year, when I was was it this year? Maybe it was this year. I was doing business mastery with Tony Robbins. And he said, well, let's bring, someone up to the screen, and I'm in the VIP section and so on. And it's all virtual, right? And there's like thousands of people in there. And he said, let's bring up Gloria. Now, I'm not paying attention because that's not my name. My name is Glory with a Y. And I looked down for a split second. And when I looked back up, there's, just as you are, Tony Robbins and Glory St. Germain on the big screen. And I just was freaking out because I had that picture in my head since I was like old
Yep.
enough to read a magazine. But there it was. And, I got this one-on-one coaching from Tony Robbins, and, the rest is history. And then I went on to speak with Sage Levine at Thought Leaders Leadership in Women Rock in Business. And so there's so many opportunities, but if you have that vision, you just don't know where it's going to take you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. I can't wait to share all of this at our live event coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. Go sign up, get started, do something, and something will happen. And
Yeah.
Glory will help you make that happen.
Yeah, let's make it happen together because it's a lot of fun. So it's Music Business Mastery, and we're going live. So check it out and get registered.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you there.
Thank you. See you there. Bye now.